in my last video I showed us the method of using one button to quickly remove your background, and then right now it's not showing in the property bar. That is because I'm still using the default image, which is always locked by default. When you open an image in Photoshop, it's usually locked by default. And to make my editing process non-destructible, I usually like to duplicate. It's a good practice. Remember, I mentioned that. Now that I've duplicated this, I can easily remove this with this button. But if you want to see how to do that, you have to watch my last video. But in this video, I want to show us another method that is also in the new Photoshop. I think from about Photoshop CC 2020, this tool was added. They are about around 2 or 3 years ago. Object selection tool. Well, if you have this tool, Ctrl D, we unselect. What you just have to do is to draw a box around your selection and allow the AI to automatically do the selection for you. The time it takes depends on the speed of your machine, your system. If you have a very good system, it shouldn't take too much time. And if the image is very clear, the AI works better when your image is clear, and when your target or subject is on a plain background, it also makes the work faster for the AI. So you can see, without doing any manual selection myself, Photoshop has been able to automatically select my subjects. And now, when I have my subject selected, I can now decide what I intend doing with it. I can max it. There's a button at the bottom called the max, the layer max. I can decide to max and my background will be out. I can also decide to delete the background instead of maxing my subjects. The importance of masking or layer max is it hides the areas you don't need, but it doesn't delete them. Just in case you might need to change that selection, you don't need to stress all over it. You just need to either disable the max or go into select and max mode, where you can refine the selection. This environment allows you to adjust or refine the edges of your selection. You can choose a view that best suits your eye, so you can do some extra refining. You can shift edge in, shift edge out. This brings the borders of your selection inward when you shift edge in. When you shift edge out, it takes it out a little bit. Zero keeps it at exactly where your selection was. And if you want a little blur edges, you can increase or decrease feather to hide some of your errors. If you find that necessary, go ahead and use that. Contrast also sharpens the edges, and smooth also makes the line, instead of the lines to look coily, your selections to look coily, it makes them look straight. It makes the line straight. So all these selections come together to fine-tune your entire selection, and when you are done, you can decide to choose what you want it. You can keep it as a layer max, or you can create a new layer from your selection, or you can even create a new document from it. but I'll keep it as a layer mask now. So that is what I've done. I've just removed my background. But if I want to delete the whole of that background that was selected using the object selection tool, what can I do? I'm going to retrace my selection using the history palette here. I'm going to go back to when my image was selected. Let's assume I just did the selection and I don't want to use the layer mask. I just want to delete this background. First, I'm going to turn off my double background. In my last video, I explained why I usually like working on a copy of the original image, just in case I need to compare the differences between where I am at the moment and where I started, or in case I need to restart. That saves me a lot of stress. So I'm going to turn it off, the original copy, and focus on the copy version, or the second copy. So now that we have this selection, I don't want to layer mask this subject. I just want to remove the background entirely. How do I do that? Now that my selection is here, what I just need to do is select inverse, right click. Once you right click, you see this option, select inverse. And what does that do? It selects the background instead of your subjects. Your subject was what was selected earlier, but when you do select inverse, like the word implies, inverse, it selects the opposite of the object, and now the background is selected. So I can decide to just delete this background straight away by just clicking delete or backspace on my keyboard. And now this is another method of removing background where your background is not hidden, rather is permanently deleted. But I don't really advise it, because if you ever have the intention of changing something, I'm sorry, you can't do that. You can't change it at a later time. You can, although you can retrace your step back to history, but that simply means you are going to lose every step that has been taken from the moment you remove that background. So why not? I think it's better for you to use layer masks so that you don't affect other things that have been done, instead of retracing your steps using the history palette. So it's all left to you. You know which one matches your test. So with this method, I hope you have been able to understand how to remove the background.